Welcome back to MUTV 23's coverage of the Mizzou SEC opener against number 16 Georgia. Here to give us the inside scoop on the Bulldogs is Logan Ball. I know I'm excited for this. Logan, are you excited to be on MUTV, the #1 destination for Mizzou sports coverage?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Brendan.
So first off, Logan, I want you to tell us a little bit about what the Bulldogs have been up to this year.
Yeah, so the Bulldogs, they're 2-0. They've got wins coming off UNC, who was ranked 22 in the nation at the time, and that was in the Georgia Dome. So it was a big win for them. After that, they went ahead and they played Nichols at home, which was a close win, 26-24. A lot of problems there, but they're bouncing off. They've been having some quarterback issues as well. Jacob Eason has been named their starter, the freshman. He's a freak athlete, great player, and their O-line's been struggling a little bit, but they're looking to bounce back this week.
Yeah, very interesting start for the Bulldogs. Logan, what does this team do well?
Yeah, so the team's based around Nick Chubb. He's the best running back in the nation, and he can break you down. Basically what his game is going to be is the first half or the first 3 quarters, him running the ball up the line, and he's going to tire you down in that 4th quarter is when he's really going to run. Besides that, Jacob Eason, their freshman quarterback, a 5-star recruit out of Washington. He's a freak athlete, 6'5", 235 pounds. He can throw the ball downfield really well, and he's got a great IQ as well.
Yeah, Nick Chubb definitely has been a great asset for the Georgia Bulldogs the last couple of years now. If I were a head coach, I know I'd certainly base my offense around him.
Exactly, yeah.
The guy is, probably going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft this coming year, and he's made some defenses look silly in his day. I know he put up over 200 yards, I believe, against UNC in the
220.
opener. Yeah. So the very impressive start to the season for Nick Chubb. I know he slowed down a little bit against Nicholls State, but like you said, the O-line struggles definitely have a bit to blame there. Georgia, is definitely a strong opponent. What weaknesses should Mizzou try to take advantage of in this game?
It's going to come down to the offensive line. A lot of their problems, Nick Chubb only had 80 yards last week. There was a lot of pressure on the quarterback, mostly because of the offensive line issues. So they've been trying to get that better this week. We've seen a lot of offensive line troubles within the SEC this year, and they're going to try and go ahead and set that up as well. That's going to be a huge part of their team.
Yeah, as we talked about earlier with Max, the D-line from Mizzou really hasn't shown up quite yet this year.
No, not yet.
And so, it's really going to come down to, a struggling Mizzou D-line versus a struggling Georgia O-line. Which one of these teams can get it, on the track in the trenches there? And that, very well could be the key to the game, in my opinion. Obviously, there's a lot of talent on the Bulldogs roster, we've already talked about. Who are their key players right now?
Yes, so the key players, Nick Chubb, getting a little repetitive there, but he's huge for this squad. He's going to power through you, and they're going to play him quite a bit. On the defensive side, their secondary has been huge this year. Their sophomore D-back, Jawan Briscoe, he was called out by Coach Kirby Smart. He hasn't played a great 2 first games, but he's going to look to bounce back, especially with Drew Lock's performance last week. That's going to be huge for this team.
Yeah, most definitely. The Bulldogs, I'm sure, have been scheming all week about, how to slow down Drew Lock. We hadn't really seen many of these kind of flashes from Drew Lock, but last week, may have been a coming-out party. So Georgia defensive coordinator, I'm sure, is going to be very, very wary of him. And then, of course, as we talked about, Nick Chubb. That is what this Georgia team boils down to. Finally, we reach game time. Georgia walks into the zoo looking for a statement win after they had that, a little bit of a struggle there against Nicholls State last week. What is going to be the X factor in this game?
The X factor is, I think it's going to come down to the line. As you've said, it's going to be a battle in the trenches. If Mizzou can get that D-line going, they do have a chance against this Georgia team that just can't seem to find their way. The big starters and then rotating in Beckner and Augusta as well is going to be huge as well. But just looking to try and get that playing time in for all these very talented defensive linemen and just trying to get something going is going to be huge for them this go-round.
Well, Logan, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Coming up, we'll have the final segment of this week's MUTV 23 kickoff show, where Chelsea Romer will represent the MUTV staff as she goes head-to-head with our very own execs, predicting all the big games in the SEC this week. You won't want to miss it.